Yeah, the answer is yes. Can you play Nolvus, this crazy ass 2000 modded mod pack with 16 gigs of RAM? Yes. Right now, gotta be honest with you, I'm sure you can see the frame rate. I mean, the game looks beautiful. It's never looked beautiful more than this, so I gotta say. But 16 gigs of RAM, how do I know this? Because I played it with 16 gigs of RAM myself. And the reason I say that is because right now I'm not playing it with 16, I'm playing it with 48. And I gotta be honest, I feel like nothing has changed. Now, the frame rate is not this much ass all the time. Number one, I'm recording this obviously video, so that's gonna put a little bit more strain on my system. Number two, I'm close to a city. The cities in this game are packed to the brim, and keep in mind I'm running the most, craziest version of Nolvus. Obviously, you can downgrade your stuff, and that should help you out immensely. But as far as frame rates go, as far as loading goes, I literally noticed zero difference between the two versions. You got everything. The animations work, the loading times are the same, the graphics look the same, the frame rate. You still have the jiggle physics, as you can see, the most important part of the game. You have the grass moving out of your way, looking extremely cool. And this might be what's tanking my frame rate right now. This crazy amount of grass, which you can, I think, enable and disable. But man, 16 gigs of RAM. All you gotta do is maybe play around with the mod list, disable some of the graphical stuff, maybe, I don't know, and you'll be golden. You'll be golden. But look how good this looks, man. And again, I should stress heavily that when you're not near a city or someplace that is like this intense with crazy amount of foliage or actors and objects, basically 99% of the quests of this game, meaning you're in a cave, in a dungeon, it runs butter smooth, easily over 30, close to 60, over 60, doesn't matter. I mean, when you look at the surrounding areas one more time, you can imagine why this is happening. So let's go to a more secluded area. Look at these cats. It's been like 2 seconds since the loading screen started. I'm just gonna keep this in for the sake of just showing you how long it takes. Like, I assume this is how long it would take if I was playing the game normally, without any mods. The Skyrim Special Edition, that is. But as you can see, we got some drops over here, which I don't give a crap about at the end of the day.
When I was in the dungeon, a bunch of the guards used to torture the prisoner in the cell next to mine.
Okay.
Wasn't right.
But yeah, once we turn over here, it gets a little better. And once we go inside, which this game likes to make us do a lot of that. Inside dungeons, houses, whatever you can think of. The frame rate should improve. Again, just leaving the loading screen just to show you, man. There you go. Once you're inside, look, I mean, I don't know how well it's gonna come across on YouTube, but it's night and day. It's night and day. Press L, by the way, if you don't know. This brings up the lights, and it's super useful because it's like dark AF. But yeah, there you go. I mean, so that answers your question quite clearly. Now, it does say that more crashes are likely to happen, but I can't tell you honestly, again, even with that. Like, I feel like I'm having the same amount of crashes, which is maybe once every couple of hours. Again, with both, RAM 16 to 48. And the last thing I'll say is, you might be wondering, like, oh, like, does it warn you at any point? Does it tell you to do something? It actually does. If you go to the Nolvus website, it never tells you anything about 16 gigs. It just says 32 gigs, and even the lowest, version is 32 gigs. If you don't have 32 gigs, go die in a ditch. That's the feeling it gives the website. While if you go through the trouble of getting the installer and like starting to say next, every single step, the game, or not the game, but the installer makes sure that, hey, like, you're doing this and this, are you sure? And in one of those selections, it tells you like, oh, we detected that you have 16 gigs of RAM, so you should do this extra step. Everything is spelled out pretty clearly. It's very easy to do. And you just do that, man, and you just get into the game. And I am pretty certain that if your PC is somewhat above any of the recommended specs, but has 16 gigs of RAM instead of 32, like, I don't think you're gonna suffer at all. Like, I would definitely say this is playable. 8 gigs of RAM though, if you're wondering, yeah, that's when things might start to get rough. But for a game like Skyrim, you have to remember this is an old ass game. Even with all these mods, 16 is gonna be good. We're not talking Cyberpunk, or a newer game with a newer engine that really takes advantage of those 32 gigs of RAM in its vanilla version. But hey, yeah, that's it. Thank you. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give me a quick like. That being said, I'm out of here.